and welcome to the show. Welcome to a new year's worth of shows. It's really great to see everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. What I wanted to talk to you about today is ways to recover from the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. There seems to be so many people that are leaving this organization now, and they need help. I mean, it's not easy to just get on with your life after being in an organization like the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I want to impart to you some of the things that helped me. And I also want to encourage you to know that things do get better. It might seem absolutely horrible right now. Your life might feel like you don't know where it's going, what direction to take, and it might even feel out of control for you. And I want to encourage you to know that it does get a lot better. So I know that Jehovah's Witnesses will say, or the organization will say, that if people want to leave, they're free to leave. You know, they can just get on with their lives. They don't have to, be bitter or have an axe to grind. They could just get on with their lives, and just go away, basically. But the reality is that if you were a serious believer, then you were willing to give up your life for this organization. You were willing to give up your children, your husband, your job, your career, your education. Your whole life was consumed with this organization. And, telling someone to just get on with their life is really, it's simply not that easy for the majority of people to do. It's like telling someone who's been through a traumatic accident, to just knock it off and get over it. So how long does it take to recover from being a Jehovah's Witness? Well, it really depends on many factors. Were you somebody who was fully indoctrinated? Or did you just do token service, maybe to keep your spouse or your parents or the elders off your back? Did you join as an adult? And were you the only member of your family and friends to join the organization? Or were you born in and were surrounded by family and friends who were already deeply immersed in the organization? There's really a never-ending amount of factors that will affect how it will be in terms of getting over this organization. But I do have to say, there are people who have left and had no trouble whatsoever. So I don't want to paint a picture that it's going to be horrible. There are people who managed to simply realize it was what it was, and they were able to move on. I will say that these ones are very rare and very lucky. If that was the case for you, then you are a very fortunate person. And I'm happy for you, because that's what we all want. We all just want to get on with our lives. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard the story about the two monks, but I love this story. It's about these two monks that were walking along in silence, and they came across a woman who was drowning, and they didn't know what to do. They weren't supposed to touch women, so they're kind of humming and hawing, and then finally one of them jumps in and he saves her, and he carries her away to safety. And then the two monks continue on in their way. And then 3 hours later, the one monk says to the other, he's just so incensed, he's so angry, and he finally just blurts out, "I can't believe you broke one of our vows and you touched that woman." And the other one says to him, "I carried her for about 5 minutes. You've been carrying her for 3 hours." And you really don't want to have that happen to you. You may have been a Jehovah's Witness for 5 years or for 10 years. How long do you want to be carrying it on in your life? Do you really want to carry it with you for the next 30 years? That's why I'm making this video, to try to help people to learn of ways to cope, to move on, and to be happy again with their lives. And believe me, you can be much happier than you ever imagined by putting this all behind you. So the bottom line with getting better is that the more invested, it basically comes down to this. The more invested you were in the organization, the more you gave up for it, the more years you spent in it, the more family that are involved in it, the longer and harder it will be to extricate yourself from it. So that's kind of the bottom line. Now, that's not true for everyone. That's kind of just a basic general rule. But the more immersed you were in it and the more invested you were in it, the harder and longer it will take to move on with your life. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses will say that they're not a cult, But just keep this one point in mind. There's a whole Facebook group for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's called a recovery group. And in that recovery group, there's about 9,000 people now, 9,000 members. And many of those members don't even use their real names. Why? Because they're terrified that family members or friends will discover them in there, and they will go to the elders and rat on them and get them disfellowshipped or force them to disassociate. That says something. I mean, think about it. What other charity would be like that? Can you imagine volunteering for an organization, a charity, and you want to leave and you have to go incognito? You've got to take on a fake name and pretend to be someone else because you're terrified of opening your mouth, because if you open your mouth and say anything that contradicts anything the organization teaches, you're going to be punished by having your family taken away from you? Does that sound normal to you? So, there's no one size fits all when it comes to recovering. But even if you were fully indoctrinated like I was in for 30 years, I was a born in. Those are two bad things that make it more difficult to recover. But even if you were someone like me who was fully into it and loved the organization and never thought there was anything wrong with it, I never even considered questioning anything they ever said. Even I managed to get myself out. I managed to move on with my life and start my life over again. And I'm much happier now, believe me. So I want to teach you or give you ideas that will help you not just to survive, but to thrive. So, it will take a little bit of effort from you as well, because anything in life that's worth having is worth working for. So let's just get on with it now. And I want to talk about some of the ways to heal and to move on with your life. So the first point I want to make is it's not so much a do, but it's an undo. Meaning you need to undo the indoctrination. Yes, unfortunately, it's something you may not realize, but the Jehovah's Witness organization employs mind control techniques, and specifically the Bight Method. And Bight is an acronym that Stephen Hassan uses to show us what it does and how it works. And what it stands for is B, the B as in Bight, is for behavior control. I is for information, the T is for thought control, and the E is for emotional control. And that is how basically the organization operates. And I'm not going to go into huge details about it right now because I'm just going to put a link in the description of this video, taking you to Stephen Hassan's website, where he explains it in much more detail. And you're going to be astounded to know and to see for yourself that the Jehovah's Witness organization employs mind control. It blows your mind to learn that. And also, I would highly encourage you to read this book right here by Stephen Hassan, because this book really helped me. It's not a religious book, so people who are coming out of the organization I know are terrified to read apostate literature. This is a book written by a gentleman who was a former Moonie. It's called Combating Cult Mind Control. And he has a new book, actually. The new book is an updated version of this, because I think there's a 25-year anniversary of this book. So he updated it, and it doesn't have two T's. That's how you know right away. But in his new book, he even talks to former Jehovah's Witnesses, and he has a whole section about the witnesses, whereas he doesn't really talk about the witnesses so much in this book. But that's why I said people who are just leaving the organization might not feel comfortable reading so-called apostate literature. Stephen Hassan was an ex-Moonie, so you're not going to feel that way when you read his book. He's just somebody talking about mind control techniques that many organizations, specifically the Moonies, but many other organizations, as you're going to learn, use it as well. So reading this book will really help to wake you up. You also need to undo the indoctrination from the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves. And I highly recommend you go to jwfacts.com. That's one fantastic website, because he really backs up everything with the organization's own literature. So you can see for yourself. Grab your Society CD or bound volumes or whatever it is you use when you do your research, and you're going to see for yourself that everything he says checks out. JW Survey is another excellent place to go. to read up on the witnesses and to learn so much information about them and what's happening around the world regarding the organization. And I'd also suggest you read Ray Franz's 2 books, Crisis of Conscience and In Search of Christian Freedom. They're 2 fantastic books that I think every ex-witness or everybody considering leaving should read. And you could also go on YouTube. There's so many ex-witnesses like me that are making videos. You can check out all the information we're saying. We give you lots of links for you to look it up in the Society's publications to see if what we're telling you is the truth. So there's so much information there at your fingertips for you to do this research. And it's not going to be easy. You are going to uncover things that are going to be hard to swallow and hurtful. I mean, you're learning that the organization that you are willing to give everything for is all just a sham. It's all just a lie. That hurts. I mean, it's very painful. It's kind of like looking at an accident. You know, you don't want to look because you're afraid of what you're going to see, but curiosity gets the better of you and you're like, you know? And it's kind of like that when you're investigating the Jehovah's Witnesses. You're afraid of what you're going to see because you don't want it to be a lie. You don't want to feel that you slaved for an organization for 30 years only to learn that it's all just a sham. So you're going to have a whole raft of emotions when you go through this, when you do your research. You're going to be angry, you're going to be hurt, you're going to be questioning things, you're going to be sad. You know, there's going to be a whole raft of emotions. And you know, even for me, I've been out for a long time, and yet I didn't know about the child molestation cover-ups. I only learned about this in the last few years. So, you know, and that shocked me when I learned about that. So I can imagine how it feels for someone who's bombarded with all kinds of information about the organization that they loved dearly, and how hurtful it can be to learn the truth. So it's a process. But it needs to be done. You need to know the truth. You deserve to know the truth. The truth about the truth. You know, and when you were a witness, you generally view the organization as different from all other organizations. Somehow you felt they were special. Somehow you felt that they had a link to God. And you need to undo that connection. You need to realize that they don't have anything special. They are just another fundamentalist organization that seeks to control people. And so how do you undo that connection? Well, one way to undo it is to look at other organizations that are similar, like the Scientologists, like the Brethren, like the Mormons. It's very easy to find videos on these or books on these organizations online. And I suggest you watch them. Leah Remini has a show right now about Scientology. I think it's called The Aftermath. It's on A&E. I've posted some of them. I'm going to try to post all of them on my Russian YouTube channel. So I'll put a link below so that you can see these shows for yourself. When you watch them, you're going to be amazed. You know, you think Scientology's really got nothing. It's not even a Christian religion. It's a ridiculous weirdo cult. And that's what you're going to think. But when you really watch the rules that they have and the policies that they have, you're going to see that it's very similar to the Jehovah's Witness organization. So it's a bit of an eye-opener. And once you realize that these organizations all operate the same way, you know, they all use fear tactics, you know, don't go to the authorities, only we have your back. It's very black and white, you know, us against them. It's once you see that they employ the same techniques, you quickly realize that the Jehovah's Witnesses are nothing special. They're just like every other organization. And so another way to do it is there's ex-Mormon groups, for example, and ex-Scientology groups within Facebook. You might want to join one. I actually joined an ex-Mormon group, and it's an eye-opener to listen to their stories and to realize that they're basically the same stories that everybody who leaves the Jehovah's Witnesses has as well. You know, they're people, real people going through real problems, and their problems are surprisingly the same. And it's just such an eye-opener. I would suggest you do something like that as well. And also, whenever you're feeling that you know, sentimental for the Jehovah's Witnesses, or you're having doubts, or you're thinking, oh, maybe there's something still, you know, just exchange the word Jehovah's Witness or JW org for Mormon or Scientology. Just do that. And right away, it'll wake you up and make you realize, oh yeah, no, they're all the same. You know, I do that sometimes. It breaks that connection of the love you had for them. You quickly realize, no, they're all the same. And that is the truth, you know? And that's why I suggest you do research. If you doubt what I'm saying, please research it and you'll see for yourself. So something that is very important that you do is you need to create a new support system for yourself. The Jehovah's Witnesses, like these other organizations, when you leave them, they want you to feel alone. They want you to feel that you have nobody. And generally, you don't have anybody. Because when you are a Jehovah's Witness, the only friends you're allowed to have are within the organization. So you're not allowed to associate with anybody else. And when you leave them, you literally have nobody else. So I suggest you get other people in your life. And I would suggest 2 types of people that to be included in 2 different groups. One is find ex-JWs that you can talk to, because these ones will be like therapy for you. You need to talk. You need to talk to people who fully understand you and who've been there before and who may have suggestions like me and who are just going to totally allow you to talk as much as you want about it. You're not going to feel guilty because they're going to want to talk about it too. And as I said, it's like therapy. I've had ex-JWs stay at my home. I had one specifically, he stayed for the weekend with my husband and I and another friend, and all we did was talk. I mean, he was just coming out of the organization and he needed to talk and talk and talk. And it was fantastic for him and fantastic for us. When you're with non-ex-JWs, they don't really understand. So that's why it's good to have ex-JWs as friends. So you can talk to them and they'll never tire of hearing your stories, because I think they realize and appreciate that you need to get it out. And as I said, it's good to have, worldly friends as well, because it depends on your situation. You're not always going to want to be reminded of JW org, right? You're not always going to want to be surrounded by people who are constantly talking about it either. You are going to want to move on with your life. And when you're with people who don't want to talk about it or don't care about it, you're not going to be thinking about it. So it gives you a chance to do other things and pursue other activities with other people who don't want to talk about JWs all the time. And you're also going to learn something, and that is that worldly people, as JWs call them, are amazing. You've been taught lies about them. I mean, yes, there are some horrible people out there, but there's horrible Jehovah's Witnesses too. So all that aside, the one thing I'm trying to tell you is that there are amazing worldly people who love their kids and love their husbands and love the world and love society and love helping people. Anyways, just be aware of that. Don't be afraid to make friends with worldly people. They're not all great. I'm not saying, don't be too naive, but be aware that you're going to have some fantastic new friends that really are there for you. They really have your back, and they're not conditional like Jehovah's Witnesses are, who at the first sign of questioning their beliefs, they become disloyal to you. It's an organization that demands your loyalty, but the second you question them, boom, they kick you to the curb. You're not going to find that with worldly people. They're not like that at all. So I would suggest that you make goals for yourself. Now you're getting on with your life. Now you've got to decide, what do I want to do? And this is where it gets really exciting. It's not negative at all, where you're learning horrible things. You are thinking that for the first time in your life, you can actually enjoy your life. The Jehovah's Witnesses have the idea that just like Scientology, put off everything in this life and throw it all towards the life to come. Show no regard for this life. If you're going to die of a blood transfusion, not having a blood transfusion, fine, let it go. Just die. I mean, they really have this idea that this life is meaningless because everything is put forward to the new world. Well, that world may never come. You don't know that that world's going to come. You don't know anything about the future. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody really knows. I mean, you can have beliefs that there is going to be a paradise earth, or beliefs that there is going to be heaven. And I'm not saying there isn't. I personally do believe that that life does go on after this life. But I don't know that for a fact. I can't prove that. I have it based on things that make sense to me, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So what is wrong with enjoying this life? Nothing. This is the life that you have right now. You should enjoy it. And for the first time in your life, you can enjoy it. So make goals for yourself. Think about the things that you want to do. Do you want to travel? Do you want to have children? Do you want to have more education and get a better job? I mean, there's just so many things that you can think about now for the first time in your life, and it's very exciting. So make a list of the things that you want to do, and realize that, you know, life is beautiful. You can even read books that are uplifting, that can start getting the wheels turning for thinking about the things you want to do. One book that I'd highly recommend that I loved was, and it's a free book you can get online. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's not so much a book about getting rich. It's a book about goal setting and how to achieve your goals. So the principles that he outlines in his book for getting rich can also be used for health, can also be used for finding a spouse, finding happiness. It's a book that was written, I believe, like in the 1930s. It's a really old book, but it's one of the best-selling books of all time, and I'd highly recommend you read it. So reading inspiring books, watching inspiring movies, putting you in a mood to realize that, you know, life is wonderful, and this is your opportunity now to make a change in your life and to be positive, stop being negative, and to actually enjoy your life. So finding other interests, you know, like painting or learning another language. You know, there's so many things in life that you can do. If you're feeling angry, you could go for a run or go to a gym and burn off that energy, or scream into a pillow. There's things that you can do to try to deal with the emotions that you're feeling. But realize that you deserve to have a good life. So if you're feeling down, do the things that make you feel better. One thing that's really interesting about coming out of the organization is that you are going to have friends that from within the organization who shun you. But they may come out too, you know. I've had many friends who shunned me who have since come out of the organization, and they called me up. And I was there for them totally, like with open arms. Yes, so happy to see you, you know, no hard feelings, you know, because I totally get it, you know, why they shunned me. And it's amazing to know that some of the people that are shunning you now might very well be back in your life within a few years. So that's kind of exciting as well. Or you may just feel like, that was a part of my life, you know, whatever. Do what feels right for you. You don't have to have these people back in your life if you don't want to. But I'm just saying that it's not necessarily forever that they're going to be trapped in this organization. So that's kind of exciting. And there's other things that you can do to try to help people, like become an activist. You could make your own videos. You know, it's volunteer somewhere. Helping others also helps you, because when you help other people, you feel good, and that makes you feel good. And also for me, making these videos that I make, they also are healing to me as well. And listening to all the comments that I get from people that are watching them, you know, yeah, you're going to attract a few negative ones, but I understand where they're coming from. I get it. You know, they're trapped in a mind-controlling organization, and I'm hoping that something I say or something that somebody says will wake these ones up, because they are watching the videos. So that's a first step, and they're angry, and that's a second step. So maybe they're on their way out too. But helping others will definitely make you feel better. I also want to say that if you do feel that you are depressed, perhaps you might even feel suicidal, I would highly suggest that you seek a professional therapist. Don't be shy. I know you were in an organization that totally poo-pooed these things, that said, you know, don't go to these ones. but you need professional therapy if you are feeling suicidal. If you are feeling depressed, perhaps you need medication. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like somebody who goes to a hospital because they're physically ill. If you are having thoughts of harming yourself, please get professional help, because there are people that can help you, and it will help you. So this is something very serious to consider. And there is another book I want to recommend. It's by Bonnie Zeman. It's called Exiting the JW Cult. And it's a fantastic read. She's actually written, I believe, another book or a couple other books now. But so you might want to Google her. But I have this book, and she's a former Jehovah's Witness, and she's also a retired therapist. So she has some fantastic things to help you to move on as well. I also want to say that as part of your group of people that you want to associate with, I would suggest you reach out to non-JW relatives. You may have forgotten about these ones because when you were Jehovah's Witness, you completely cut them off. I know my family did. I was shocked because I was told that they cut us off when we became witnesses. But the truth of the matter is that we cut them off. And think about it. Which makes more sense? Worldly people don't cut people off. Witnesses cut people off for not believing as they do. And when I learned this, I was like, wow, I can't believe another lie I was told. And I'm thrilled to have my cousins back into my life. And so this is another part of your support system that you can include. Family members that may not have been witnesses. You can reach out to them now and include them in your life. And what a wonderful thing. And the last thing I want to say as a suggestion is you may opt to move. Now, this is a huge undertaking, so I realize not everyone can do this. But in my particular case, it worked and it was amazing. Moving is fantastic because it gets you out of all the shunning. I mean, I was in a situation where I was being shunned. I was in a small town. I'd been on so many different assembly parts. I'd pioneered. All the witnesses seemed to know me. No matter where I'd go, that I'd always run into people constantly being shunned. It was ridiculous. And I had always kind of wanted to move back to this area where I was born. I was born in Ottawa, and my family moved to Victoria, which is on the west coast of Canada. And then I always kind of wanted to move back either to Ottawa, Toronto, or Montreal. And because I loved French, I thought, it'd be kind of cool to move to Montreal. So what I did is I took a leave of absence without pay in my job because I worked for the government and they enabled me to do that. So for 1 year, I moved to Montreal, and I thought if things don't work out, I've still got my job. But thankfully they did work out, and I met my husband, and we have a son together, and I created a whole new life out here. So if you're able to move, or if you'd like to move, this is a perfect opportunity to do it. Because you can literally start your life all over again. You'll have a new job, you'll have new friends, you'll be in a new area where you won't be constantly reminded of kingdom halls and service and elders meetings and so forth. So anyways, as I said, it's not possible for everybody, but if it's something you can do, it's a great thing to do. Or even a small move. It doesn't have to be a big across the country move like I did. It could just be a move to another neighborhood, or an hour away or something that's not terribly far. So I just want to do a quick recap of the things and the suggestions that I gave, because you can also maybe print this off and have it handy for you when you're thinking about things that you want to do with your life. Steps to help you recover from being a JW. Undo the indoctrination by researching JW.org, like check out JW Facts, read Ray Francis books, and watch YouTube videos by ex-JWs. Look into other cults and see that they all use basically the same tactics, like watch the Yeremini shows on Scientology and read Combating Cult Mind Control. Create a new support system for yourself with both ex-JW and worldly friends. Make goals for yourself and set a plan to achieve them. Read positive books to help give you ideas, like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Find other interests, like sign up for an art class, go to the gym, volunteer, or become an activist. Helping others also helps you. Consider getting professional help and read books that focus on recovering, like Exiting the JW Cult by Bonnie Zeman. Reach out to non-JW relatives. Consider moving if possible. So those are some of the things that helped me, and I'm sure that you will find many of those things to be helpful for you as well. But I'd love to hear from you if there's anything specifically that really helped you to be able to move on with your life after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. It would be great for you to put it in the comments below for everybody else to learn from this as well. You know, when you are a Jehovah's Witness, there's no real good reason they teach you to ever want to leave them. You know, even if you were abused by an elder, or if you were completely defrauded by somebody within the congregation, there's no possible reason why you would ever want to leave them, or so they tell you. And you certainly can never imagine yourself being disfellowshipped. I mean, they tell you right on their own website that the only people that are disfellowshipped are people who commit gross sins and who are unrepentant. I mean, that's pretty serious, eh? So you've committed a horrible thing, a horrible sin, and you're not even sorry. And those are the only people who are disfellowshipped. So you never imagine that you could be one of these disfellowshipped people. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. It certainly wasn't true in my case. I did not commit a gross sin, and I was repentant. I was not unrepentant. So for them to say that, it makes people feel that when they are disfellowshipped, you feel like you're a horrible person. You can't get over the fact that you were disfellowshipped. And it really does a number on your psyche, because you feel that that God even hates you. You're made to feel that now you're on Satan's side. All your friends and family hate you. Or maybe not hate you, but they all are cutting you off. They're all shunning you. Some of them seem to enjoy it. I'm going to say that. Some people actually seem to feel that, look at you, you know, I'm going to shun you now. Just that feeling that they're better than you or something, or they're just sticking it to you. I don't know. But I definitely detected some people seem to enjoy my demise. And frankly, I don't care. Like I said earlier, if these people came out, I'd welcome them with open arms, because I totally get it. But I'm just saying, you're made to feel so horrible for being disfellowshipped, and you can't even imagine ever being disfellowshipped. So when it does happen to you, it really does a number on you. So it's really important that you very quickly get a new recovery system and learn the truth about the truth, and realize that it's not you, it's them. They are the ones who are messed up. They are the ones who are trying to bring you down to their level, you know, the Pharisees that they are. So at any rate, I want to leave this on a positive note, just to say that there is a way to recover, and I hope these ways will be helpful to you. And I'd love to hear from all of you. Thank you all for watching my show, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.